Roblox is a platform that you will more than get bullied for playing, mainly because this platform is mostly shitty simulators, rip-offs of other games, and just cringy shit for like 5-year-olds. Roblox still has its respective share of good games, which I fortunately have managed to find. But other than that, there isn't a lot Roblox has to offer in terms of high quality games. Except for one in particular. Hi guys, Agent Kenshin here. No one seems to have done a review of this game yet, so I'm taking it upon myself to review the game before it dies out. So, without further ado, my name is Agent Kenshin, and welcome to the Entry Point Review. Entry Point is a game about you, the freelancer, working under a criminal organization to pull off some stuff mainly targeting other people. For a game about crime, you'd expect the usual, oh, it's time to go rob a bank, but this game takes a very different approach. The closest thing you might get to a normal heist is the withdrawal, which is just a bank heist for cash. Other than that, a lot of missions are unique from other heisting games, notably Jailbreak and Mad City on Roblox, and if we're gonna go that far, Sneak Thief. The game has a surprisingly deep lore for a Roblox game, and has overall interesting story which surprised even me. Who knew I'd be this attracted to a Roblox game? Anyway, there's 9 main missions, all of which, while we're mentioning it, have the most kick-ass soundtrack you'll probably ever hear in a Roblox game. This game has its unique set of mechanics as well for a first-person shooter, and all missions will have similar mechanics to Going Loud, but with how each map is laid out, calls for some different means of approaching each mission. Which brings me on to the class setups of this game. This game gives you 4 classes. If you mix 2, then you get a hybrid class, which means 6 total hybrids. There's skill trees to help you boost your skills to something that suits your playstyle, and a small arsenal of weapons, which serve the same purpose. Speaking of the game's weapons, Entry Point probably has one of the coolest collections of weapons I've ever seen, albeit a small arsenal, with a total of only 9 weapons in game, 11 if you have money for expanded arsenal. The game gives you a weapon to fill in anything and everything you need. Whatever suits how you want to execute your mission, there's a weapon for it, and some sort of gear for it as well. And every mission plays out different in its own way, so it's always good to branch out and try something new. Something the game doesn't punish you for. Yes, there is a meta, which usually is bring the F57 and CHA to loud, but the game has other weapons that work as well, except for the pistols, which then brings me on to my next point. All the missions can be done loud, putting your full set of perks and testing your skill in the heat of being constantly shot at, all while trying to manage objectives. But if that doesn't work for you, then taking the quiet approach is for you. Which brings me on to my next topic of discussion with this game. This is the first game, to my knowledge anyway, to pull off stealth that actually works well, and it adds to the replay value this game already has. Multiple ways to complete the missions this game has definitely adds to the variety and choice this game already offers you in the previously discussed loud scenarios. Anyway, if you don't feel like getting shot at, then you can try your luck at just completing the mission stealth with a bit more advanced mechanics than loud, with a lot more skill that needs to be learned, which is why the game also rewards you more for doing stealth, and rewards you even more if you can stealth without getting kills on anybody at all. Stealth isn't something you see in a lot of games, so when making stealth, this is where Shishano's inspiration really starts to show. Inspired by a variety of games, notably the Payday series, Metal Gear Solid, and Hitman series of games, it combines aspects of all of them and gives you a stealth experience that's challenging, but turns the game around a bit. Most stealth missions require you get a disguise, and preferably something that's concealable, which is what all the pistols are for, and then you're good to proceed with the missions similarly to how you would in loud, but slightly different. Slightly depending on the mission, and with a bit of RNG added to both sides on stealth and loud, so that way the maps aren't always 100% consistent, meaning mastering the mechanics and technique are all the more important than memorizing the maps themselves. Missions, as I said earlier, more rewarding as far as XP goes, but money will always be consistent depending on stealth or loud, unless you're on higher difficulties with a lot of gear, which comes out of your final paycheck to bring along. This game has already a lot of replay value to it, which is part of the reason I and many others find it so addicting. Besides the main 9 missions, which can be done on stealth or loud, the main 8 being the campaign, and then the bonus one being the Kill House training map. The game has a PvP mode for players to play around in a Rainbow Six-esque game mode, a speedrun mode where you can compete for the fastest times on each mission, with custom seeds that you can use to fit how fast you do the map, and also the Iron Man mode, where you play through the main 8 missions non-stop as it gets progressively harder with each mission. Doing loud makes enemies deal more damage and become stronger, and doing stealth more means guards will become more attentive to your actions. The game has quite a lot you can do with it, with also the added bonus of Game Pass exclusive maps, most of which are stealth only, but are still fun if you get bored and need an alternative, all of which tie into the game story, which I will not spoil. If you haven't played it, I would highly suggest you do, because again, for a Roblox game, this has quite an interesting and deep story to it, which is a bit complicated to learn, but there's a few videos explaining the story of Entry Point. But to summarize it, Entry Point's unique execution at a stealth/shooter game definitely makes it one of the most underrated games on Roblox, and one that certainly deserves way more credit than it gets. I won't sit here and say everything about Entry Point is perfect, because this game isn't. But this game is a unique specimen on Roblox, and I will argue that there's absolutely not a single game on this platform that even comes close to touching how great it is. Even if this game is incredibly hard, it's still a fun game that I love and always will. It's well respected in its community, and speaking of the community, it isn't a toxic one either. And when you play it, it doesn't even feel like a Roblox game. It feels like its own sort of figure, if that makes sense. When you look at what Roblox usually stands for, I've been saying this a lot, but this is a unique game with like stuff that you've probably never really seen before, especially when it comes to the stealth mechanic that's added into the game. It really does allow for a different experience as opposed to what you usually get, all while still having its differences from your average shooter game like, say, Phantom Forces, Arsenals, or any other game like that. I could mention a whole bunch. But anyway, I forget all the time that this is a Roblox game from how advanced it is from literally every other game I've played on this platform. Sadly, though, this game is coming to an end. With the recent end to the story of Entry Point sometime in the middle of April, Sish released a cutscene which basically made it final that the game's story would no longer continue. Large Entry Point YouTubers who have been playing this game and watched the game grow for years are now leaving, and so is a lot of the community. But while all those guys are leaving, newer Entry Point players like Jacob, Atlas, In a Flash, and, well, me, have kind of made the game fun again, and have been, not to brag, making a little bit of a presence in the Entry Point community. Again, not to brag, but especially me somehow. And I don't know about them, but I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. This game is simply too good to just up and leave, and I haven't completed this game to its fullest yet, even in the slightest, which is what I plan to do. This game is still somewhat relevant, but a lot of people have sadly moved on. If you haven't ever played this game and need a solid game to play, this game is just for you. By far the best game on Roblox, always will be, and will always live on in our memories, even when the game is finally dead. Thank you all for watching my review. I hope this was a solid review for the game. This was a massive project for me, and I hope I delivered something you like. And don't worry, guys, I'm not going anywhere anytime soon, even if the game is done. Thank you all for watching. Agent Kenshin, out.